I jumped in when we were talking about the million impressions. Is that a good topic, Matt, or am I going down the wrong?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because you didn't just do an on-site activation that went viral, you also ran a social campaign that went viral.
Yeah.
And everybody on the planet, here's what I'll say is like, I don't know
Viral is
how many
relative,
people
I
are.
will just say.
Yeah, sure. Psy still has the most views on YouTube with Gangnam Style, but
Really? I love that guy.
yeah, I think so. I could be wrong. Fact check me after. I think most people are not necessarily game for, hey, I'm gonna really roll the dice at this booth at this big event, right? Like it takes real like sort of gumption to do to run a campaign like that. But most people would tell you that they would love to be able to create content on LinkedIn that's getting more than like the typical branded 40 likes, mostly from the employees, 3 comments, mostly from the employees, 4 shares, mostly from the employees. Like, and you ran a campaign that went extraordinarily well. And I'd love to double click into that and just learn a little bit more about that from, in the same way we talked about the booth, right? Like, how did you come up with it? How did you execute? And what were some of the results that you saw?
I think for starters, a lot of the success of that started in part with the chicken wings.
Okay.
And so there's a broader theme here, I think, which is a lot of like not just vibes, but a lot of our marketing and our strategy is built around creating authentic connections with our market. It's not just like, hey, do you want to buy? No, okay, cool. Hey, do you want to buy now? All right, no, cool. Like that's what most go-to-market strategies really are if you really boil them down to their simplest form. So once again, if we were just a normal booth, yeah, we might have talked to some folks, made some good relationships, gotten a few leads. People wouldn't have remembered it. They wouldn't have gotten to know us. They wouldn't have gotten to know us as people. There wouldn't have been this human element. So when we kind of publicly launched new Commsor about a month ago now, we went to all the people who we built relationships with over the last 3-4 months, including people who'd come by the booth, people who'd been guests on the booth. And we just said, hey, do you want to help us spread the word? We're going to do this fun little activation. And we had like 150 people say yes. And actually, one of the big learnings was I didn't ask some of the bigger names because I was like, there's no way this person's going to say yes. They charge money for posts. And then on the day of, they were like, why didn't you ask me to help? And I was like, I kind of assumed you would say no. I should have asked.
Yeah.
But because for the 3 to 4 months leading up to this launch, we had been focused on this like authentic connection, vibe-based, get to know people, be humans first, not a brand first. People were very willing to be like, yeah, I love you guys. Of course I want to help. Like, I'm not even a customer. I like what you guys did. It was really fun. Thanks for having me on the Hot One show. It was a blast. So there's like this social capital that we built up over 3 to 4 months. So when we asked people if they would be willing to do something, a metric shit ton of them said yes, at least relative to our size and our scale. So that was step one, was actually like creating the environment in which people wanted to be a part of what we were doing. And that's the thing is like, I just don't think a lot of marketing create something that you want to be a part of. And if you think about the best consumer brands, as a quick sidebar, people say that they're kind of like cults, right? Nike, Apple, folks like that. Like they've transcended the product. Like I'm part of Apple. I'm an Apple fanboy or I'm a Nike fanboy. And like B2B doesn't do that because they don't market in a way that creates something you want to be a part of. So we put this together. We had a whole plan. We did some really good video content that we filmed together as a team. I think one of the reasons it worked really well was we didn't ask everyone just to post the same thing. And I think a lot of companies, when they do these like influencer LinkedIn activations, they get everyone to post like the same image, but maybe with their photo changed out, and it's like the same copy. And they're just trying to flood LinkedIn or the internet in general with the same message. Instead, we asked people to share, we gave them kind of 3 different like prompt starters. Like our whole business model, we call ourselves the House of Authentic Connections. So we wanted them to share a story on how their network or authentic connections have had an impact on them personally and professionally. So suddenly each post was unique and a personal story. And like, yes, they all kind of ended with the same message, but they were all different, unique posts that enabled it to actually not feel like it was just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. So each post became a unique thing to engage with. It wasn't like once you'd seen 1 or 2, you're like, oh my God, another person, just scroll past another person. So each individual post got more legs, which meant each individual post was seen by more people. So it had this whole compounding effect. And it just felt a lot more natural. It didn't feel like we just gone out and paid a bunch of people to parrot the same message. There was an element of like their own personality and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the this was like an influencer would do a video and a post related to your launch.
Yeah.
And and you did it on a sequential basis, or did you
So we didn't
send them all out
so
at once?
So one, I wouldn't really even call it traditional influencer. We didn't pay anybody anything. This was just us asking if they wanted to participate, and they said yes. A lot of people, there were some like snarky posts that day were like, oh wow, like look at Commsor blowing their marketing budget, paying people to talk about them, and it was like, we spent $0 on that day.
Got it. So you didn't use the Kardashians, I understand.
No. It was all people that were like kind of like in our ICP. It was like sales and marketing people, and so
Totally.
And basically what they just ended their message with like, congrats to Commsor on launching the House of Authentic Connections. But leading up to that was like their own personal story or kind of related thing to what we've been doing. Some people recorded videos showing off how they were using the product already without us asking them to. Some of them just kind of did a story on like what their network means to them. Some of them just shared a story about like how they met our team and loved our team and why they were supporting us. You got all different types of stories. And yeah, we can't see every impression on everyone's post, but we estimate we got between 1 and 1.5, 1.6 million unique impressions that day.
Incredible.
Which by LinkedIn standards is a lot.
And what was the total number of participants that you had? About 150?
About 150, yeah.
Jeez. That's still, that number, yeah, it's like the million or 1.5 million numbers to the layman, that's huge, and it is. But like 150 contributors based on where you guys are as an organization, that's a huge number. I mean,
yeah, especially once again, like I can't emphasize that. We didn't pay anybody anything.
Right.
Nobody posted because they were being incentivized to. And I think once again, that's why it's important. It's a result of the way we'd been marketing leading up to that point. Like we wouldn't have been able to just like do this campaign in a vacuum. This was, while it might feel like an overnight success, and yeah, it was like a week of planning to put it together, it was 4 to 6 months of build up to make it possible.
So when you talk about that 4 to 6 months of build up, can we unpack that a little bit? Just because I think, you know, there are lots of people who have, you know, awesome customers and, you know, they want to, you know, sort of bring them into the brand, bring them closer to the brand. But like, you know, they can't get on a plane and fly to each one of them, take them out to dinner, take them out to lunch, learn all that stuff. So there was some level of scale to what you guys were doing while also maintaining a level of one-to-one personal connection. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's fascinating to me, even in addition to what you did through the campaign.
I think I don't know if I have like an easy, clean answer to that, because it's a lot of immeasurable, vibey stuff, right? That went into it. But a lot of it came down to, I think one of the biggest problems right now when you go to market is that everything is built on the assumption of a binary outcome, right? Marketing and sales are built on the assumption of a closed won or a closed lost deal. That's it. In reality, though, that's just not the way it works, right? Like maybe I try to sell to you now, but you don't. But maybe in a year you're a different role, or you end up being, you know, someone who refers business to us, or a partner, or we end up hiring you. Like there's so many possible outcomes. So our approach was basically, how do we foster a network of people who give a shit about what we're doing? That's the simplest way to put it. And that's customers, that's friends, that's partners, that's fans. It's a mix of all of them. I think it comes down to, it's a combination of our team's approach to marketing and social strategy, which has always been more of like a conversation rather than a broadcast. I think most marketing is like, I have a thing, look at my thing, push it out there, push it out through posts. Like, and that's where you get those examples of like the social post with 40 likes and 3 comments. Cause like, why do I as an individual give a shit about that, right? So approaching it in this like conversational manner, I think not taking ourselves too seriously. I mean, my title on LinkedIn is like El Rey del Dinos, right? I'm clearly not trying too hard, even though it's like I am. It's a different kind of blend. And then a lot of it's just been like conversations. It's like a lot of doing things that don't scale, talking to people, because it's like a lot of it was like we were doing early customer research, we were doing early demos, we were onboarding beta users. So like there was product and business value while we were doing those conversations. But we didn't just treat it as like, oh, you're not gonna be a customer right now? All right, I'll come back to you later. It was like, how do we keep that conversation going? It was like, some of those people joined a Slack group. Like we've got a couple hundred people that are not customers yet that are hanging out in a Slack group designed for our customers just because they want to hang out and talk to our team. Like that's not how most marketing ends up working.